you need to want to do what you're doing, and you hear that time and time again. Find what you're passionate about, pursue it. I mean, I understand that it's not for everybody because it is a very
Welcome to Behind the Frame, where we go beyond the LinkedIn bios and Instagram highlight reels to talk about what really happens when you're building something from scratch. I'm Jay Duffy, co-founder of Frame Wealth Partners, business owner, husband, dad, and guy who still wonders if winging it counts as a legitimate growth strategy. Spoiler, it does sometimes. Join me and my amazing co-hosts, Morgan Watson and Annette Quigley, as we sit down with someone who's built a business or is knee-deep in the messy middle of it. And we talk about the real stuff, the pivots, the late nights, the wins no one celebrated, and the lessons no one warned them about. So grab a coffee or something stronger. We're going behind the frame. All right, welcome back to Behind the Frame, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on what it really takes to build, scale, and survive owning a business. I'm Jay Duffy, and I'm here with my co-host, the mouth from the South, Morgan Watson. And Morgan, let's start off weekend wins.
Weekend wins. I actually have a good one, so this one's a little different. So as those who know me know, our middle one's heading off to college this year. So Morgan's off to UVA, and he went to his first concert this weekend. I picked him up Friday night or Saturday night late, taking him and his buddies back to where they're spending the night. And I'm like, all right, Morgan, you have to be at church tomorrow. We got church right after church. We're going to a nice dinner or a nice lunch, celebrate you head off to college. So you'll be here, right? Yes, Dad, no problem. So Sunday morning, we're all dressed. We go to church, about 5 minutes before church, no Morgan. Church starts, no Morgan. Oh boy, 10 minutes, no Morgan. So I'm just fuming, right? And right after church. Oh yeah, exactly. Just what you need going into church. You're mad at the world. And so he doesn't make it. And I'm the whole time in the church service, I'm thinking, all right, what am I going to do for payback and punishment?
Were you praying for patience?
Oh, it was everything you would expect. The whole service was on David and how he messes up and forgiveness. I'm like, all right, Lord, I get it. I get it. So, we leave. We're going to go look at something. Morgan's doesn't text me. Text Mary Dawson the whole time. I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. So he calls us. We're trying to find a place to meet up. And, all right, here's where we're going. I hang up. So anyway, we go to lunch. Everything's fine. I wasn't going to mention it there. I didn't want to ruin it. We get home. I'm like, all right, here's the big talk. And I'm like, all right, bud, we need to talk about this. I'm a little upset. And he goes, I know you are, because when you hung up, you didn't say I love you before you hung up. And I'm like, you're killing me. Between that and the service, I'm like, all right, it's not about punishment. Let's just talk our way through it. But that was a good win, for a parenting win for me. I didn't just blow up his world. This tends to be my initial response. How about you?
For me this week, actually, we were down the beach for a little bit, and I was having a conversation with my oldest, James, and he just kind of out of the blue said, "Hey, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a business owner. I want to either do what you do or what Mom does, because my wife owns a business as well, and she's doing great with it." So he's like, "Which one do I like? I just know I don't want to work for anyone. I just kind of want to work for myself." And I think that's a parenting win.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Following the parents' footsteps. That's the right thing.
So Morgan, who do we have today?
Yeah. Well, as everyone knows, the whole purpose of this podcast is, as business owners, it's really how can you grow and sustain a successful practice. We're always looking for different points of view, people who are in the weeds doing the work. So we're lucky for us today. We got Joe Conciatori with us. He's the co-owner of Mama Roma's Deli and Catering, actually in the office building here where we work. We've gotten to know Joe really well. Here's my favorite part about having restaurateurs come to the show. They bring free food. So he the best cannolis you've ever had. So he brought quite a few with us. So that's a good plus as well. So Joe, welcome. So happy to have you as part of our podcast today.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. As we get started with this, restaurateurs, that's one of the hardest businesses in the world to jump into. So let me ask you, kind of, how did that evolve? What started all that?
Yeah, so everybody always tells you don't get in the restaurant business. I think for their own reasons. I'm have no regrets. It's the best decision I ever made. So my interest in the restaurant business is where it all started. Started in college. I had always worked, in the restaurant business as a waiter, as a, expediter in the kitchen, a little bit of cooking experience. And then in college, I decided, hey, I want to get into this, as a business owner. So as most people do, I start making fresh pasta in my house, delivering it myself to my classmates in school. From there, I entered an entrepreneurship competition for a delivery-only restaurant concept. That didn't pan out, but when school was over, I joined the workforce, but I knew that that was not my end-all be-all. I needed to get back to, my passion. I needed to get back into the business that I had dreamed of starting. So I packed my bags. I moved to Maryland. Had an opportunity to move in with a buddy. When I came here, I met the right people, Reno and Bruno from Mama Roma Restaurant in Odenton. They believed in me, they backed me, and we went into business together. And from there, the rest is history. Here I am.
Wow. Wow. Now, Joe, for our two viewers that listen to this podcast,
Absolutely. I'm the
how,
Bulls fan.
how old are you?
I'm 25 years old.
25 years old as an entrepreneur. Um, when you look at Mama Roma's now, what you're doing here in Hunt Valley, what do you see long term for not only the cafe, which I know it's not known for doing breakfast, but
Right.
that breakfast sandwich for me
Right.
is how I started my day
No, that's
every day.
so I think that Mama Roma Hunt Valley has a unique opportunity to really kind of integrate with the community on a higher level. It's a hyper local restaurant, right? Like for example, like the small community of this office building or the few buildings nearby, or just kind of like the greater Hunt Valley area. I think that every customer is a regular customer, and that's what I really love about this small business we have here. As far as the future of it, I think we're going to lean a lot heavier into catering. I think that there's also opportunity for further expansion where there's going to be more small Mama Romas around. That's kind of our focus, smaller footprint, small locations, low staff, but big flavor, so
I think what's interesting is when did you guys move into the building?
early this year, so beginning of January this year.
And we've had other cafes there that have were short lived. Unfortunately, they failed.
Right.
I think what's impressed me the most is the fact that first time I went there, your engagement with your customers, not just me, but everyone else, was just very, very engaging. You knew pretty much everyone by name. You kind of knew what their order was going to be. Uh, Is that something that you learned in just your career path so far? Or is there something that you just have innately in you?
I think it's just something that, inside my DNA kinda just clicks, it's not something you could teach, I wouldn't say. It's not something I've learned, but, for some reason, I know people's order after the first time I meet them. If I see their car pull up, I'm like, "Alright, start this on the grill," and yeah, I remember everybody's name. There's actually I have a small story. There's one gentleman I met in the summer while I was here kinda cleaning up, getting the place ready. We had been working on it for months before we opened. I met him one time, he told me his name, and then he's a gentleman that orders online, so I don't see him in person frequently. Actually, never since, we actually finally moved in, and then he did come in one day, and I remembered his name, and he was, like, freaked out almost. He's like, "Dude, how'd you remember that?" I'm like, "I just do," but yeah, I don't think it's something you could teach, but also just from such a small business, every customer matters to us. Every customer is more than a customer. It's a guest, it's a friend, it's somebody that I look forward to seeing the next time, so, your business means a lot to us, so the least I could do is remember your name?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, obviously, this was something you've always wanted to do, it sounds like.
Right.
Um, did you have any kinda startup, or where did you kinda learn the restaurant business, or at least, "Here's what I think I want it to be in the future"?
Yeah, so, I would say so my first job was in the restaurant business. I was working at, Chili's, the chain there. I did some to-go packing, some kitchen expediting there, and then, once you get your start in the restaurant business as an employee, it's kinda easy, like, you just hop around every new place you move for college or,
Yep.
you grow out of this restaurant, so in the next summer, you get another one in high school, another job. So that's where I got my experience in the beginning, um and then, like I said, in college, I started, that's where I got my cooking experience, doing things myself, kind of starting the website where people were ordering me to deliver pasta myself. And then I learned everything from Reno and Bruno. I mean, on the management side, they were really kind of take me under their wing. They, all the knowledge that they have over 20 years of operating a successful business, they were an absolute open book and, showing me the ropes. And that's something I'll be thankful for them forever for. And that's where I really got my feet under me.
That's awesome. Yeah. How do you what do you prefer more as the business owner? The front
of the restaurant or the back side of the restaurant?
So that's the thing, as a business owner in the restaurant business, there is no front or back. You gotta be everywhere all at once, man. I would say, like, as you mentioned, the front is awesome 'cause I get to interact with the customers, but the back is where the magic happens, and, that's something that I always like to, get involved back there, have my hands, but, as you grow a business, the goal is for me to not have a spatula in my hand anymore, right?
Yeah.
How I There's no way for me to scale this if I have to be back there making every sandwich, and it's kind of that's an internal dilemma as well, I have to be
So
will
when I call in, I say I need Joe to make my like his sandwich. Like you're just not going to do it.
I'll do it for you, Bear, don't worry. Always got you, though.
So as you started down this path, what were some of the initial obstacles that you either knew were coming or more importantly didn't know that were coming? And
Yeah,
kind of how did you handle those?
absolutely. So I would say, the biggest obstacle in this business is always gonna be, every business is a people business, but this one especially. So you have your, difficult moments with guests, with customers, especially in the kinda like more high volume places that I've operated. But, also with staff, that's something that, you have to roll up your own sleeves and get involved. If it's somebody like, "Hey, I can't come in today. I have to, take my kid to, the doctor." Or, "Hey, I'm not feeling well." Nobody's gonna care as much as you do as a business owner.
Yeah.
So I say that's like the biggest obstacle in this business is, no matter what, rain or shine, no matter how you're feeling, no matter what's going on in your life, you gotta be there and you gotta, pick up the slack for the other people involved.
So true. Now I know we kind of talked about how people told you not to get into the business.
Right.
Now that you're in the business, how how difficult is it?
It's very difficult. I mean, but I wouldn't wanna be doing anything else, I think something a value of mine that I hold myself to is you need to wanna do what you're doing, and you hear that time and time again, find what you're passionate about, pursue it. I mean, I understand that it's not for everybody because it is a very cutthroat business, as far as, like, surviving just, as a business goes, but it's also very demanding as we've been talking about, but for me, I wouldn't rather do anything else. I love the demanding nature of it. I need a business that's gonna, need me to be there to help, kinda guide it along and grow. That's something that I crave in my business, so for me,
We can certainly tell. I mean, Morgan, I don't know what your thoughts are, but like the last two other entrepreneurs that we had on there, you could tell that the passion for what they do is there. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think to your point, Jay, the last previous two we had good food, but it was just kind of clinical.
Yeah.
And Jay, you make a great point. You walk into somewhere and someone knows your name, the whole cheers. It makes a big, big difference. It really, really does. It's funny because I love people who are passionate about what they do because they tend to be the most successful. You were sharing a story earlier about going out to LA for a conference.
right, Las Vegas,
Yeah, Las Vegas. Well, yeah, share that with us because it was great.
So, the mantra of faking it till you make it, right? I mean, that has a negative connotation to it, but sometimes it's necessary. So, I would say, as an entrepreneur, the best thing you could do for yourself is commit, right? Just deciding that you're gonna do it is even better than getting started, right? You have to be on the same page. I'm gonna do this no matter what. So, um, I was interested in getting in the food business. I didn't know exactly what I was gonna do yet. This is before I had, teamed up with Reno and Bruno from Mama Roma. And I decided, hey, I'm doing my research. I see this conference in Las Vegas. It's called the Multi-Unit Restaurant Technology Conference. So it's for people with more than one restaurant, multi-unit, right?
How many did you have?
I had 0. So I had 0. I reached out to the people organizing the conference, and I explained how, I basically used my college home cooking delivery thing as my, like,
Nice.
my restaurant, multi-restaurant,
I love it.
and, I don't know how they took my money, they let me come. I went out there and I'm, schmoozing it up with people that own 30, 40 unit restaurant concepts. I learned from really interesting people. There were people trying to sell me restaurant technology that I had no money, I had no restaurant, and, they didn't know that they were dealing with an absolute amateur. But, that experience of just saying, hey, no matter what, I'm gonna put myself in situations where this is a reality, right? It's not a reality yet, but now it is because
Yeah.
I'm getting in the room with the people that live this every day, right? So
That's
that
amazing.
was a really interesting
Yeah. No, that's a
opportunity.
great, great story.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, we're going to move into our next segment that we call Hot or Not. We're going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Feel free to elaborate on them as well. But whether or not, and this really goes with your career in the restaurant business, whether this particular topic is hot or not.
Let's do it.
All right. Uh, Ghost kitchens.
Very hot. So ghost kitchens are what really got me interested in this business to begin with. So during COVID, I was, working a gig in a restaurant and I saw how crazy the takeout business was. I was like, wow, what if you were to just open up a restaurant with no dining room? I thought I was a genius. I invented this idea. Little did I know, I looked into it. The guy who founded Uber, his name's Travis Kalanick, had spun off from Uber and opened a company called Cloud Kitchens. He's pumping billions into it. So it wasn't my idea, right? But
Right.
I fell in love with the idea. I really dove into it. And that's actually the first thing that me, Reno, and Bruno did as a team. We took an existing concession stand that we operate to this day, and we did a ghost kitchen out of it. As an entrepreneur, you always hear, like, you have to fail fast, fail, early, fail often. That didn't work out. It's not in existence to this day, but it's something that we learned a lot from. I was really excited to be able to kind of take all those ideas in my head for the ghost kitchen concepts and throw them out there and get them off paper into the real world. And
For those that are not in the restaurant business, what is a ghost kitchen?
so a ghost kitchen is essentially a virtual only restaurant, right? So restaurant, I use that word loosely. Basically, it's a kitchen where that's producing food, and the food is ordered via the internet, basically. So mainly, I would say a third party delivery service like Uber Eats or DoorDash or even a proprietary website of the restaurant. But basically, there's no dining room, there's no cashier. It's just kitchen staff preparing the food that's marketed online, and then it's picked up by the driver and brought to your door.
Wow. Okay. Morgan? QR code menus. How'd it
Yeah,
happen?
not.
Thank you. By the way, hate them. That's like, I can't. I got old man eyes. All right. I need a big menu.
So I'll elaborate on that one. For me, hospitality is at the core of our business. That's not how you're doing it. It's one thing if you're ordering from home, of course you want to order on your phone, right?
Right.
But if you're doing the effort of pulling up to the restaurant, walking in the door, you want to have some interaction with a staff member. You want to be able to ask questions. You don't want to be like, hey, scan this code and do what you have to do. There's a time and place for it with COVID,
Sure.
but not to this day. And I was in the Savannah, Georgia airport, and there was a restaurant that was, still doing the QR code ordering, and it was an absolute mess. I mean, it's not something that you want to continue doing in 2025.
Yep. How about hiring family to run the front of the house? Hot or not?
Very hot. I mean, that's also a controversial topic. People say, be careful getting into business with your family, but there's also nothing more rewarding, I would say, than being able to spend time with the people that you love, working together. For example, at Mama Roma in Odenton,
Yeah.
Reno and Bruno's mother, Mama,
Yeah.
is at the front every single day. She touches every single customer.
Wow.
To this day, I mean, she's there dealing with every single customer that walks in the door. So
That's amazing.
I saw how rewarding it was for them, and definitely hot on that.
Awesome. Secret menu items to build hype.
Yeah, hot. I like that. I like that a lot. I've experimented with that a little bit. For example, we had the grilled chicken sub that you could turn into a cheesesteak. Wasn't really on the menu at first. There was even one gentleman named Andrew. Shout out to Andrew. Thought it was called the Andrew Special. He would always call him like, I'll take the Andrew Special. But yeah, I think that's a really effective way to build some buzz, bring customers in the door, get them talking. Word of mouth is the most powerful form of marketing in this business. So that helps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How about it's a kind of a tough one, but and you probably don't have many of these, or if any,
Yeah.
responding to bad Google reviews.
Yeah, so, I'm thankful and I'm fortunate to be in a position where Mama Roma Hut Valley has not received any negative reviews. I've been on the receiving end of a negative review in the past. Um, you have to respond, I
Yeah.
think, but you have to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, you can't please everybody. There's definitely an opportunity to learn, but, at the end of the day, if everything that I send out of the door of my restaurant, I'm confident that it's of the standard that I'm holding for it. So, if it's not for somebody, I understand, and I appreciate their feedback, but, I'm not gonna let it keep me up at night for sure.
Good. What about a no substitution policy?
No substitution policy. I do understand. I wish that I could do that, and make things a lot easier. But at the end of the day, I think you have to do whatever you can to make your guests feel welcome. And if they want to say, "Hey, listen, leave the onion off my sandwich," no problem, man. Feel free. I got you. Yeah.
There you go. It's funny just listening to. I keep reminding myself that you're 25, and I sound like an old guy, so forgive me for that. But
Sound.
yeah, or I am, uh, but just the way you're answering these questions and how you run your restaurant, it's shocking that you weren't 15 years into this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very polished. Um, Staff uniforms versus everyone wearing whatever they want.
Yeah, so, coming up in the business, I worked at a place where you can wear whatever you want. I think there's, again, kinda like a time and place for that. So for context, that was a brewery. It was kind of like I don't know if hippie is a derogatory word. Hipster, kinda hipster type of place. So I think that kinda fit there. Um, I don't like it for a place like mine. I think that it's better to kind of have a standard. Hey, you gotta wear your apron, you gotta have your shirt tucked in, and, you wanna look clean, representable for the customers, right? At the end of the day, I understand why people say, "Hey, like, you can wear whatever you want," but that's kinda more of a not for the restaurant business as much, right? Especially when you're dealing with food, you wanna make sure that there's a standard, so it's safe.
Yep. How about franchising your restaurant concept? How to not?
I would say not. I mean, that's a tough one for me to answer because 'cause I'm not, too well versed on the legality of franchising. Because at the end of the day, that's a question for the lawyers if it ever makes sense. But I would say that, losing the control on that aspect is definitely tough. Not to sound like a control freak, but at the end of the day, if you're putting your name and all the sweat and tears that you've, you know, spent to build this business in the hands of somebody else, that's very difficult to do. So, I would say not. I don't have plans to ever pursue that.
When you say control, I'm assuming you mean the quality.
The quality, right, yeah, it's, not about the little things, like, for example, uniform, okay, whatever, but
Yeah.
when it comes down to, like, not knowing for sure that they're gonna, have the same quality of ingredients when they order. If they could say, "Hey, I don't need to get the Cooper cheese, I can get the, off-brand, white American," they don't got
That Cooper cheese.
right.
On.
Those are the things that, a potential franchisee can do to cut costs and then in turn cut quality that, if it's a store run by the business itself, I would say corporate, although we're the opposite of corporate America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
family-owned store, it's different. So I'd say not.
Alright. How about using a food truck as a way to expand your brand?
Interested in it. There's a whole world of issues that come into opening a food truck, and I think it's usually the opposite way. You'd start with the food truck and then come to brick and mortar. But as a tool to expand your brand, I like that option and that mindset about it. It's, definitely a way to kind of get into multiple places at once. It's a relatively the opposite of capital intensive. What would be the
Yeah,
word there?
yeah.
It's
Yeah, low cost way to start it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's definitely a valuable tool to get into. I kind of butchered that response.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
No, as Jay knows, I'm a huge food truck. I see a new food truck that pops up, I'm like, "Oh, gotta
Yeah.
try it."
No, it's awesome. Yeah.
Um, how about this one? Daily specials written on the chalkboard.
It's just still hot or not, right?
Yeah.
I would say not. I mean, I like the idea of specials as a tool for business, but for me, I don't think it's really bringing people in. I think it's just a way to like kind of spice things up. I think maybe it'll work in a, busy city street. Somebody walks by and says, "Hey, oh, I'm on my way to the office. They have a lunch special. Maybe I'll come back later." But for me, it's a little tacky. I think it's a little tacky, the chalkboard. We gotta find new ways. I'm big on text marketing. I
Okay.
I will, collect my customers' phone numbers, and then I'll say, "Bang, here's today's special. Come get it." And that's it. Right before the lunch rush, I'll send, "Hey, 99-cent fries," and it works. So,
That's awesome. I like that idea. I know we had one. Uh, raising prices because of food cost inflation.
I mean, I don't wanna sound like a criminal, but hot, right? I mean, you have to do what you have to do to protect yourself as a business owner.
Sure.
I would say, you don't wanna raise prices just because you feel like you can get away with it. But, you do have to, make sure that you're staying on top of your food costs. That's probably the second, biggest cost we have besides labor. So it's really crucial that you're staying on top of that, making sure that you're making your margin. At the end of the day, it is a business. Um, but, like I said, not doing it just because you can get away with it.
I have a follow up question to that.
Please.
And what it really relates to is like, we're someone may be looking to get into the restaurant business, entrepreneur. You said food cost is really important. What's a rule of thumb from a profit margin standpoint?
Right, so they say 30%. You
Yeah.
try to be under that for sure.
Okay, so you want to be under your food costs under 30%.
Right.
You're somewhat profitable.
Well, there's other things that come into it,
Sure.
right? So of labor is also huge. You have your fixed costs like rent, you have your variable costs like, through utilities. But if you're under 30% food costs, you have a fighting chance, right?
Yeah.
And I would say there's gonna be items where you're gonna be at 40% on that item, but as long as your blended food cost is under 30%, you're in good shape, right?
Okay, good.
So one quick question is, he had to follow up on this. What was harder for you to kind of master? Was it the kitchen side or the pricing and the management side?
Yeah, I would say, um the kitchen side for sure. I didn't have too much experience when I really got my hands, dirty as a business owner in the kitchen, so, that took a little bit of time, but once I got the hang of it, I was flying, like, I tell you,
Okay.
nothing like that, working through like working through a busy rush back in the kitchen, feeling like, you could run through a wall. So
Okay. Before we move on to our next segment, I do want to ask one other question for you. If you had to put a bet on it, your business,
yeah,
what is the meal you put in front of me that say, "Hey, this is my best meal"?
the cheesesteak, yeah.
Cheesesteak.
We have a killer cheesesteak. So our bread comes from New York. It's a seeded roll from A&M Bakery in Mount Vernon, New York. It's killer. Uh,
Love that. Love
Thorough, thank you. Yeah. We use 100% ribeye. We use, grilled onions, which is standard, and Cooper Sharp White American is, the hype is real about that. A lot of places, started using it in, I would say, probably the last 5 years or so. When we were adding a cheesesteak to the menu, like, hey, let's give it a shot. It makes all the difference. The way it melts, the way it comes together. That's the sandwich I'm putting.
Cheesesteak.
Cheesesteak.
All right. Now we're moving into our plead the fifth segment.
Absolutely.
You want to hit them with what this is all about?
So we're going to ask some questions. You have to answer all of them except for one.
Got it.
One, you can plead the fifth. We're not going to tell you how many you have. So
Okay.
be sure you save it for the important one.
Let's do it.
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
Number one, have you ever seriously considered walking away from the restaurant business?
Absolutely not. The second I got into it, I knew that it was going to be difficult. I knew that it was going to come with its challenges, but like I said, it comes down to, having the passion, having the love for it. I will die on this hill. So
Nice. I think I know the answer to this because of your Las Vegas story, but have you ever passed on a growth opportunity just because it scared you?
passed on a growth opportunity just because no, I'll jump into everything, man. If it makes sense, I'll do it. Let's go.
Awesome. Awesome.
We talked about family members. So let me ask you, has a family member ever caused more of a problem than they were worth?
No, I would say no. You have to have the difficult conversations before you get started working with one another and saying, hey, uh, you know, business is business. At the end of the day, we're gonna share a nice meal. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna laugh it up. But when it's in the heat of the moment, we're gonna have an understanding that we're gonna do everything we can to work well together. So,
I like that. All right. Has a mentor ever given you advice that totally backfired?
uh, advice. That's a gray area. Okay, no, I'm not gonna plead the fifth on that. Okay,
All right.
okay. But I would say that backfired. No, but there's advice. You have to you take the advice. You go out in the world and you use it, and it doesn't always come out the right way. I'm struggling to think of an example here.
Well, it kind of depends on where the advice comes from, but there's plenty of times where it's like, is there a better way to do exactly
Right.
what you're telling me to do, or advising me to do? And I deal with that every day with him. I mean, like he tells me to do something, it's just
Actually, I do have a
whatever, old
I
man.
think I do have a nice little story about, how some advice backfired. So,
Okay.
we had just rolled out the cheesesteak, okay?
All right.
And, it kinda ties in with the text marketing thing. So, we had just rolled out the cheesesteak. I wanted to get some noise about it, so I sent out an absolute bomb on the advice of my partner and mentor, Bruno.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, just, forget it. Just sell it for $9 today," which is a steal. You can't find a cheesesteak for $9, right?
Yeah.
So I sent out a text. I said, $9 cheesesteaks today. Next thing you know, it's like a line out the door. And I'm sitting here with me and one other guy, and I'm trying to do the cash register. I'm trying to talk about how I work in the front, I work in the back, and you had to be everywhere all at once. So that was a time that advice backfired in all the right ways.
Yeah. All right. That's good.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Have you ever used the excuse, it's a family business, to try to not change something, even if it was needed?
Not change something.
Like a menu item or a recipe said,
Oh,
this is,
Yeah, absolutely. We had, for example, we're not gonna, cut corners on the sauce, right? That's gonna be the recipe that's been working with the Mama family since, the 80s, right? When they were opening restaurants.
Yep.
So no, absolutely.
Okay. Is there again this you may plead the fifth here. I don't know. Is there a successful local competitor you secretly envy?
Huh. Local competitor? I would say I don't feel envy towards anyone. I think it's like, we all kind of make our place in this area. I don't wish anybody to go out of business. I would only want to learn from them. I don't think that I secretly envy them and like, hope for their demise at all.
Okay.
We can coexist, we could share the market and learn from each other.
have you ever had a vendor or supplier try to leverage you into doing work with them?
Leverage me into doing work with me. Um, in what capacity?
Hey, if you don't buy this from us, you may have a back order on some of your other stuff.
Little mafia move. No, I haven't experienced that. I'm really thankful for our suppliers. We work really closely with a company called Ferraro Foods. They're another, family-owned Italian business, and they've been absolutely great to us. They're like a silent partner, you could almost say.
Okay.
They're great.
Do you, all right, here's one. It's a tough one, I think.
Here.
I'm hoping to get a plead the fifth here. Do you trust your team to run the place without you, or do you kind of have a little bit of panic when you're
Yeah,
there?
so listen, I think I'm not gonna plead the fifth on that one because that's my goal, right? At the end of the day, I was listening to a podcast today from the founder of, Crumble Cookies, and he said when they were looking to grow their business, every day he needed to fire himself from another task, and that's something I'm actively trying to do, and I'm actively trying to give my staff new opportunities to kind of take on more responsibility. So, I would say I do trust them, I have to something I talked to them recently about was like, "Hey, I'm giving you the keys out of necessity sometimes. If I have business to take care of, somewhere else, I have to leave and you have to hold it down. But the goal is to, give you the keys out of, opportunity rather than necessity." So that's the goal. I would hope I could trust them because I'm doing everything I can to, give them.
It's just not blind trust right now.
No, definitely not. Definitely keeping a close eye, definitely putting systems in place to make sure that things are being done the way that they need to be. Yeah, we're working towards that for sure.
Awesome. Awesome.
Have you ever bent the truth about how well the business is doing, either to a family member or a friend to, try to make it look a little better than it is?
I mean, absolutely, but I think that's natural, but not for
Yeah. We're all going to slightly exaggerate
right.
just a little bit.
I would say not out of a way of like, "Hey, look at me, I'm doing so well, I'm selling somebody's sandwich." No, I don't think, that was the intention, right? But of course, you have a bad day. It's like, for example, we opened, accidentally, I think it was like President's Day or something. We didn't understand the stock market's closed, there's nobody here. So I talked to my parents every day. I was there then. Remember talking to you, yeah, that day. So you were on my breakfast sandwich, is the only guy in town.
You said, you were like, where's everyone? I was like, stock market's closed. We got financial advisors out the wazoo.
That's right. So, yeah, so I would say, like, for example, that day, I remember I talked to my parents, they're like, "How was work?" I'm like, "Good, yeah, really busy, yeah." But
Got a lot on my to-do list done.
yeah, but never out of the intention of saying like, "Hey, look at me, I'm doing so well," if I'm not, right? So,
All right. Last one. Do you ever wonder if all the stress, hours, and sacrifice is actually worth it?
I know it's worth it. I know that I'm on the right path. I know that, you get what you put in
Yeah.
and you reap what you sow. So I mean, it's natural to kind of be like, man, is this really worth it? But at the same time, it's like snap right out of that, stay focused and just keep pushing every day.
Well, Joe, we're excited for you. I mean, this is I love the cafe. You mentioned that you wanted to tell us a little bit more about what expansion kind of looks like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think
Businesses.
another business that we operate is the concessions business. So we're in hockey concessions. So expect to see more growth in that area as well. But we're also getting into a new business. So the micro market business.
Okay.
If you ever walked in a building and you see a self checkout kiosk, I would say that's not necessarily vertical integration, right? But it's kind of like diagonal integration. It's similar to what we're doing, kind of like food service. Dealing with suppliers. Taking inventory, but a little bit different. So we're getting in the micro market business, looking to connect with people that are managing apartment buildings, office complexes, you know, business owners themselves that might want to put them in, and also getting into break room services, which ties in with that. So a lot of companies nowadays will provide complimentary snacks for their staff.
Right.
We'll be the guys that you talk to create your assortment. We'll drop it off for you. We'll stock it for you and provide a service for you.
That's awesome.
So it sounds like you're really integrated with the corporate side of the marketplace.
Absolutely. I mean, I think being in Hunt Valley operating this cafe, it's just I'm in the perfect position to, go with a business like that where every guest that I welcome into the restaurant here is also a potential customer for the new venture. So, I just want to keep seeing how I can provide value to this community
Yeah.
and what I can do to help.
Well, I think it's interesting because, we're in a pretty big office, but I see plenty of people coming from outside this office
Yep.
Yeah.
to the cafe.
I think that has a lot to do with our, positive Google rating. We do everything we can to, wow every new customer. If I see someone I don't know, I'm like, "Hey, how'd you hear about us?" Google, Google, Google. So I think that definitely helps us out a lot. We also have a sign that's massive that you can't miss when you drive by. So we weren't shy about that. So that helps as well as, hitting the pavement, dropping off menus at different offices nearby, doing anything I can to introduce myself, and invite our neighbors into our home.
Well, Joe, you have anything else you like
Yeah,
that?
no, I was just gonna say it's what I've appreciated most, not just the good food, but to your point is everyone that comes in feels like a neighbor.
Right.
And, and I've always said that there's something special about going somewhere that you love the food, but you love the people that provide the food.
Absolutely.
And you've done a tremendous job with that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. Joe, I wish you the best of luck. I think I see nothing but upward mobility for you and the business. I'm excited for you. I know Morgan is. That's all we have for today, folks. We will be back in about a couple weeks for our next episode. Looking forward to having you back here at Behind the Frame. Thanks so much.
Thank y'all. Thank you. Bye-bye.